Here though, Alienware and CyberPower. Those guys need to do better straight up. The new Force BeLive 5 earphones leverage their new battery design that brings the earphones closer to your ears, providing better weight balance for a secure fit and even better sound. They feature 8mm dynamic drivers that deliver clear sound with steady bass, and the magnetic clasp helps keep the earphones around your neck when you're not using them. They've got Comply soft foam ear tips to maximize comfort, also included in the package, along with other interchangeable ear tips and wings to personalize your fit. They phone calls, time of ordering to the time of the system arriving, and that is 20. All right, so this really weird. Wow. So we get a warranty, safety, and regulatory information pamphlet. We get a quick start guide, which basically says connect the keyboard and mouse.
Which is not present, as you can see.
Connect the network cable, optional. Connect the display. Connect the power cable and press the power button. Okay. And we get a power cable. Is that really it?
Well, they did try selling us a $10 keyboard and mouse.
I guess it's better to not include it and not have to pay for it than to pay for stuff you don't need. In terms of the quality of the packaging job that they've done here, there's already something that I've noticed.
It was loose inside.
Yeah, it is not a good thing to have a system loosely packed inside a box. You want everything closed up as tightly as possible. So there's still a fairly good chance that our system is just fine, because at least Dell is using a very high quality closed cell foam here. So you can see that it's strong, but it's also not gonna crumble and crack if the whole box gets impacted by anything. So that allows it to stay strong, and it has some give to it, which is really important when it's sitting, vibrating on the back of a truck or whatever else. And I actually haven't seen an Aurora system in a very long time. It's got some heft to it. That's probably as much to do with it being a steel case as anything else. I guess we need a screwdriver, hey? Screw me. Yeah. That's good. All right. I don't really have any complaints about the plastics. I mean, Dell's done a pretty good job of these kinds of things for a long time now. Get some of that peel action going on here. Oh, interesting.
It's perforated.
It's perforated just in case you're like one of those horrible people who leaves the plastic on your electronics, it still won't die. That's awesome. It's like actually an idiot proofing measure. Because it's the same thing here at the back too. It's all cheese grated. That is freaking hilarious. In terms of I/O, not bad. USB 3, USB 3.1, Type-C, another USB 3. Audio, can't take headphone jacks for granted these days. Oh, okay, yeah, there's the button here. And then, there we go. So, our side panel does actually make use of the chassis intrusion detection, so we're probably gonna get a notification about that. There's our RGB PCB for the lighting in this sort of triangular doodad they got going on here. We actually can't see a lot about the internals of this machine. So we've got a 120mm cooling fan sucking air in from the front here. We've got a very OEM grade looking GTX 1060. That's with a rear blower design plastic shroud. So it's not like a high quality like Founders Edition metal shroud or anything like that. But at this price point, I wouldn't have expected that. This is nice to see. So we've got card support. So even though there was some extra space in the box, the chances of this card coming out of that slot or breaking it off, I've seen that, very slim. I get a kick out of this.
Is it a swing out?
I think so. So I think you unlock these and then, yeah. Oh, that's kind of cool. So all the cabling stays in place for our SATA power, our PCI Express, all that good stuff. And this gets us our first look at our motherboard. So having reviewed a high-end Alienware desktop a little while ago, back when AMD launched their Threadripper processor, I'm not surprised by any of this, but they are using a proprietary motherboard. This is the IPCFL-SC. It's got that little Alien silkscreened on it, so this is definitely specific to Alienware. It's got a mere 4-pin power connector for what ended up being a This is an 8700K processor.
The one that's 10 times faster.
Remember, 10 times faster. Very important to
I
remember
think
that.
this is the auxiliary power to it.
And then this is GPU power.
Oh.
So that's weird, hey? Actually, there's some weird stuff in here. So look at this. They use an adapter here instead of just plugging their 24-pin connector directly into the board. And I have to assume that it's because they're actually using a proprietary wire layout for this. And you can actually see they are. So orange, orange, black, red, orange, orange, black, wait, no. Black, red, black, black, red, black, gray, purple. Yes, white, white, orange. Yeah, but yellows might just be whites. What is going on here? What are they even doing? That's so weird. What, so just so you can't use a normal power supply? We should find out if this system runs without this plugged in, because I'd be willing to bet that it does. Also notable down here is our nice, robust, thick cooling fan. Wow, actually that's really nice on our AIO cooler, and our 120 millimeter radiator is right up here in the top where it's got clean access to exhaust. This is a lot more open than it actually looks like. So I would expect cooling on this system to be quite strong.
But check it out, these are not cooled.
That's true. And then as usual, Dell's using just generic green PCB DIMMs like you would get from, well, direct from Micron. Overall, I am less disappointed than I was expecting. As long as you have compatible components, and right now the motherboard and the power supply are big question marks, this is a standard ATX-ish motherboard, standard ATX-ish power supply, and it is easily user serviceable if you wanted to add a hard drive or whatever the case may be. So the HP ordering experience was a little bit unique. The invoice still didn't have a full spec list. It looks like it is actually written on the side of the box though, so we're gonna get a better idea of what we're dealing with here very shortly. But what was really interesting is they put themselves at a disadvantage by canceling our order 5 days after we placed it, and letting us know that the issue was that we used Hangouts to call, and so the number didn't match our credit card. After we resolved it though, the system was shipped the next day, and so they still, even with the 5-day head start that they gave everybody else, still managed to deliver the gaming system to our door, ready to be gamed on first. All right, we get a keyboard, and a mouse, high quality. The packing job they did definitely gets extra points versus Dell, because while the quality of this material is slightly lower, like it's still a nice flexible foam, rather than the brittle kind, it's packed in tight. So once you close the flaps, there's no room for it to move around. 1, plug. 2, push button. So, our final spec. 8th gen Core i7-8700, non-K, so it's gonna be about 1/10 the speed of the Dell then. 16 gigs RAM, 256 gig NVMe SSD, 2 terabyte hard drive, 2x2 Wi-Fi, and holy crap, HP is putting themselves in a pretty good position here to run away with this. This is equipped with a GTX 1070. Now the 1060 versus the 1070 is not a small step up. That K series processor that Dell upsold is going to have some serious performance benefits in order to outweigh the improvement in GPU that we get with our Omen here.
Oh, that's nice. Carbon fiber replica.
Actually, I'm liking their industrial design a little bit better as well, too. So I don't know what the deal is with the, oh, it's an optical drive. It includes an optical drive. Did the Dell even include an optical drive?
Nope.
If we're not making other compromises, it's better to have it than to not have it. This is a really interesting window too. They've got like this really dark tinting on the window. And I can actually just see through it. I think we're gonna get some nice illumination effects there. You can also see there's a couple of little extra steps they've taken with the chassis here. So powder coating. Now, powder coating doesn't cost a lot, but you can tell HP spent the extra couple of bucks to make sure that even the back of their system, which you wouldn't normally look at, is all black, including the power supply. I/O is another strong point. We've got an SD card reader, 2 Type-Cs, and 2 Type-As along with our audio. Ooh, the inside of the system looks a lot better too. Much more standard though. So there's no swing out and gain access to key components for upgrades or anything like that. And one place where HP is clearly behind Dell here is the case cooling configuration and CPU cooling. So rather than using a 120 millimeter exhaust to balance out the 120 millimeter intake at the front, HP is just using a mere 92 millimeter exhaust. And what's really weird about that is that it looks like it actually has space for a 120 mil here. They're using an adapter bracket. So that's a case of kind of spending 30 cents to save $1 from my experience, because a 120 mil can doesn't cost that much more.
What if they're going for positive case pressure on purpose?
That's possible, but they could also just order a case fan with a lower RPM. That would solve the same problem. Isn't that weird, hey? Mounting the adapter and then mounting a 92 mil fan to it. Of note is that their graphics card, while still an HP specific SKU, got an HP sticker here, HP part number there, they've put a little bit of extra into making it more stylized. So if you were to ever open up your case, you've got this graphic on the shroud, you've got this sort of like chromed GeForce GTX logo here, and it uses a matte black PCB, which I'm always in favor of. Another interesting note is that the VRMs, again, have nice big heat sinks on them, and in this case, it's across all of them, above and to the side of the CPU socket. Still 16 gigs of RAM, and there's our NVMe SSD down there. That looks like another HP specific model. It starts with an M, and I see SEC somewhere in there, so I'm guessing that's a Samsung. Yeah, it's a Samsung model of some sort. And then there's our hard drive right there.
Oh!
Yeah, check that out.
Damn.
We've got hot swap cages here. So you just, well, somehow, presumably. Really, you guys? There we go. Just slide it. Very cool.
That's nice.
There's your easy upgrades. This is just bonus. Dang, HP.
Not bad, eh?
This is a good omen. Get it? For the videos to come? Okay, so who's next, Ivan?
CyberPower.
Yeah, very funny. Okay, yeah, so CyberPower, they wouldn't recommend a system, so they were booted from the running, which means I know who's next. It's gonna be iBuyPower. Now, this box looks like it went through hell to get here. This side really does look like someone gave it a good quality sidekick. Now, did you notice that nobody asked us, like, what kind of case we wanted?
I don't think I actually had options to offer.
Well, normally isn't that kind of like iBuyPower and CyberPower's shtick?
Well, in this case, guy actually found the best system for the budget. And he'd never really asked about style because she didn't specify either.
So the double-edged sword of having such a wide variety of configs to offer your customers is that you have selection, but the disadvantage is that it's harder to make a cohesive package out of your systems. So we've just got the box for the system in like a master carton that, quite frankly, probably isn't giving it a much better chance of arriving intact than if it was just shipped without it. Because assuming that the shipper adheres to the this side up sticker, which you can see is right there, then yes, this is actually quite a firm sort of eggshell carton style foam, and it would help with impact significantly. But there's so much room for it to bang around from side to side. And I mean, come on, we've all seen the videos. Let's see how our system did. So we got a Zeus E2 gaming mouse and an Ares E1 gaming keyboard with spill-resistant structure. We've got a customer service line we can call and a quick start guide. Well, they already lied. Package includes desktop tower, gaming keyboard, gaming mouse. Nice high quality foam here though. Really soft, but really strong. So our modular, clearly EVGA power supply that was included gets all the extra cables bundled up nicely for us in a handy resealable bag. Little touches like that make a difference when you're trying to upgrade your system 3 years down the line and you're like, oh, where did I put all that stuff? So we've clearly got an ASUS graphics card, MSI motherboard, EVGA power supply. They're all gonna be brands that you recognize. Again, this is one of the challenges with having any number of different case designs is you can't have custom packaging and you can't have custom brackets to hold everything together in shipping. So what they've done is they've included this foam packaging material inside to prevent your system from getting damaged in shipping. You'll also notice that these instructions are for this like ancient, I think that's a Raid Max case from like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
They don't correspond to the way that you would actually open this chassis. It doesn't have screws at the back and you don't need a screwdriver. That's something that I really think they could do a better job of for new users. To their credit though, we actually looked into using these at NCIX in the past and I had wanted to do it. Like if I recall correctly, these cost a couple bucks each.
About $450 actually.
$450? There you go. So that adds a significant amount to the cost of a system. But it's all about getting it there in one piece for the buyer. Wow, that is a very bare bones looking system compared to our HP Omen there. So just like our Alienware, we've got better cooling for the CPU, but we've compromised on our cooling for the CPU's VRM, which may or may not matter because what CPU is actually even in here?
This is actually a 9600.
A 9600.
But check whether it's kilo or not. And remember, they sold it to us before it was launched, so we actually pre-ordered it.
That would probably explain why, even though this is a fairly simple build, they still took, what, about 20 days to deliver the final system?
Now, the thing is, what happened in the middle is that the PSU we initially ordered was out of stock. So they gave us a free upgrade to the 750 unit.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Speaking of the power supply, they've done a better job at the back of making sure that you use the correct video ports. So Alienware had onboard video, but didn't specify in their quick start guide where you should plug your monitor into. These guys say, hey, don't plug it in here. And they've got a sticker on the back to make sure that you don't plug in your system and run it before you remove the foam insert. Because I've talked to SIs before, it's like a big problem. People just turning the system on and letting it cook. With foam taking up the entire inside. In spite of the kind of bareness looking of it, it's obviously modular and easily upgradable because it uses all standard off-the-shelf components and they're all from quality brands that I would trust. So we've got MSI motherboard, ASUS GTX 1070 graphics card to go with that 9 series CPU, ADATA RAM, looks like 16 gigs of it, Corsair liquid cooler, EVGA power supply, and then we've got a Toshiba 1 terabyte drive for the back. This thing is gonna shred when it comes to gaming performance.
And the processor is a K.
The only drawback here is gonna be that this is a SATA SSD rather than an NVMe SSD, and that might affect system responsiveness, but from my experience, not much. Okay, iBuyPower's looking pretty good here. Yeah, that's a pretty poor application of that sticker. Yeah, they could have put a little more effort into that. I think it was Origin before Main Gear, right?
Yes, it's Origin.
Okay. So far, the unboxing experience feels pretty special, but based on what I'm expecting about the specs of this machine, it had better be really special. So they include what seems like a reasonable quality mouse mat. That's kind of nice to see. Did they ask for shirt size?
Yeah, you get to pick.
You told them XL?
That was Janice.
Thanks, Janice.
So they actually benchmarked the system, well, somewhat in Cinebench. Yeah, so they're assembled on one day, QA the next, burn in and ship on the third day. Interesting.
450 watt Silverstone power supply. Again, recognizable brand names, MSI motherboard, and this is interesting, it's a Core i5 8400. So what happened here was we've got an 8400, which they upsold us, telling us it would be a lot better, which of course it would be, but it didn't technically fit in our budget. So we resolved to benchmark this system both ways, with what they upsold us and with what they would have originally shipped. And honestly, given that they did send it with a GTX 1050 Ti, I'm not expecting it to improve much. Remember, this is a $1,500 US system. And this poster, and what else you got over there? Scum Steam Code, a Star Trek Vanguard starter pack, and Shroud of the Avatar Steam code, along with Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Still, these better be some amazing games on that 1050 Ti. Very high quality foam, credit to them for that, and it was all packed tightly within the outer box. And credit to Origin, their Chronos is a sexy little machine. A sexy little machine that probably should have had some plastic peel stuff on the front. See that? Oh boy, Origin PC. The thing with someone like Origin is that we are paying a fair bit extra for the custom chassis, and it has some cool features. So the Chronos, which we've actually featured before, has these magnetic feet. So all you gotta do is move them, and then you can have it in a tower configuration or a desktop configuration. And it is extremely compact. So this is the smallest of the systems that we've looked at today. It looks like it has managed to stay in position, and because they're using a PCI Express riser to install the graphics card, it doesn't seem to have come out yet, but given enough time, this would cause a problem. Please tell me we at least have 16 gigs of RAM. All right, so cooling, we've got an 80 mil in the front that goes directly over these perforated 2.5-inch cages for our solid state drive. Remember, that is a mere 120 gig solid state drive. Quality components, you got a Silverstone SFX power supply here, EVGA graphics, MSI motherboard, Kingston or HyperX memory with Origin co-branding on it. So this is again your motherboard accessories, your power cord, your extra power supply cables, and any documentation that came with your parts. Also, they throw in a USB drive.
That's actually their recovery USB, I believe.
Oh, okay.
That's a nice touch.
That is a nice touch, and it's 16 gigs. And then you've got their own AIO cooler. It's an Asetek based unit though, so it's just fine. To me, the big disappointment was that our unboxing experience was marred by these handprints on our system, and that it seems like Origin gave up a lot to have their custom chassis with their fancy motherboard and ended up with a bit of a mis-spec'd system. Like I wouldn't recommend this to someone who's purely after gaming performance. This brings us finally to Maingear PC. These guys were also right in that 20-ish day range, and they did a really excellent job of keeping us updated on the status of our order throughout. So after placing the order, they said, hey, we've got your order. Hey, now your system's being kitted. Here's all the parts that are picked. Hey, it's assembled. Hey, it's shipped. And bippity boppity, here's our system. So right now, this is kind of Maingear's competition to lose, because they definitely did the best job of the pre-sales experience. And honestly, so far the packaging I'm feeling pretty good about as well. This is a nice high quality foam. It's all packed nice and snugly within the outer carton. And there's a second internal carton. I think the odds of this getting damaged in shipping are quite slim. Okay, more solid packing materials. Really nice foam. Wow, these guys go all out. So they have also invested the, what do you say it was, about $400? Into foaming up the inside of the system. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this, cute. Oh, you can tell they actually used the actual system that, not the exact one, but the same configuration for their startup guide. Also in here, our invoice, Windows recovery, documents and accessories, resealable, very nice. Got some motherboard cables, we've got case screws in case you ever want to upgrade. And then you got a pen and some stickers, a keychain, coaster. I'd say that's a B- mouse pad. It doesn't have a stitched edge, so it's going to fray more than the other one, maybe C+. They write you a little note on the inside of your box. Enjoy, Yvonne. All right. Before powering on, you must first remove the packing foam inside your computer. No real instructions on how to do it though. That's something that I think iBuyPower, for all the deficiencies in their instructions, did a better job of making clear. So this seems mostly designed to prevent the graphics card from moving around. Like clearly they don't think the radiator is gonna come off or anything like that. So our config in here is an interesting one. We've got the best cooling for the CPU out of any of our systems here, We've got an overclockable CPU, so that's a Ryzen 5 2600X. We've got 16 gigs of RAM, non-expandable unfortunately. But then we've got a GTX 1060. Intel SSD, and then we've also got a Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte drive for our games down in the bottom. I'm expecting this system to perform decently, but any points that Main Gear gained during the ordering process, they are probably going to end up losing in gaming performance. Nothing against AMD, but this CPU is not going to perform as well as our Intel-based machines in that particular application. And our GTX 1060, well, let's just say we probably would have been better off spending our dual radiator money on a 1070 and putting a stock cooler on it. Maybe. The benchmarks will tell the whole story. So that's it then. Ordering process and initial impressions complete. Let us know in the comments below who you think is going to be coming out ahead in our Secret Shopper Showdown. Next up is going to be customer support. How do they handle it if the system doesn't work 100% right out of the box? Affordable and stylish, the new Force Be Live 2 checks these categories off while still offering a comfortable listening experience. Its Bluetooth wireless keeps you wire-free, as you might expect, and the magnets at the end of the earbuds clasp together while not in use to keep these babies on your neck. They offer 10 hours of continuous listening on the go and can be fully charged within 1.5 hours. They're IPX5 rated, making them weather and sweat resistant, and the inline microphone is compatible with both the Google Assistant and Siri, allowing you to pick up calls, skip, and pause tracks. Check out the link below to learn more and get a pair for yourself. Or for someone else. 'Tis the season. So thanks for watching, guys. If you disliked this video, you can hit that button, but if you liked it, hit like, get subscribed, or maybe consider checking out where to buy the stuff we featured at the link in the video description. Also down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like the one that I'm wearing under this, and our community forum, which you should totally join. Yeah, I understand. Well, the orders are in. We're back at HQ, and it's time for us to review the most challenging portion of $1,500 SIPC Secret Shopper Project Secret Agent Magnum Edition.
Vinum TI, thank you, forgot your name again.
This is how all of our competitors responded to a fairly rudimentary technical support request.
Hi there, I just was setting up the computer I bought for my brother, and I noticed that in the system it says there's only 8 gigabytes of memory, but in the order it's supposed to be 16.
iFixit's ProTech Toolkit gives you the tools you need to tackle any electronics repair challenge. Visit ifixit.com/Linus at the link below to get yours today.
So first, it's our favorite Alienware.
Thank you for calling Alienware. The quickest way to get you to the right support agent is to get your product's express service code. This is different from your service tag or asset ID.
May I have your service card, please?
I don't know what my service card would be.
System is listed under premium support warranty. This is basic warranty, so I'm going to need to transfer you to premium support.
Is this 5 minutes already of just pure dicking about? Are we just sitting here in silence again?
Hello?
Hello?
Is it me you're looking for?
You know you're not doing on hold right when you have to come back and say, hello?
Thank you very much for waiting.
Are we 15 minutes into this call and they haven't even gotten as far as, who are you and what do you have? Are we being asked for the order number again?
Okay, ma'am. Just stay connected, ma'am. I'll transfer your call to the technical department.
We're not at the technical department yet.
Thank you for calling Dell Basic Hardware Warranty Support. May I have your system service tag or the express service code?
Did you just ask for all our information again? Oh my God, we're explaining the problem again.
Oh, I'm extremely sorry to hear that. Ma'am, this should have not happened.
Well, it should not have happened. Yes, okay, thank you. Astounding observation skills.
I can just go ahead and connect your call with the Alienware department, okay, ma'am?
Are we getting transferred again? We have had nearly half a dozen people that we've talked to at Alienware in pre-sales and after-sales support. Just put us on hold for a minute at a time. Why?
What we need to do is, if you don't mind, is open a computer and just double check that you have two, because it could be that one RAM is not it's not like it needs to be like reset or reconnected. Can you open the Aurora R7 to check if you have the two RAMs?
I could. Are you able to guide me through it? I don't actually know that much about computers.
Yes, of course.
See, she's remoted in, and then she goes to YouTube and shows us the video about how to access the memory.
Okay, all right, well, I'm okay with that.
On this video, we'll teach you how to replace your RAM modules on the Aurora R5. Nothing beats off peeling plastic covers off your new Aurora.
Again, to Alienware's credit, this system is pretty straightforward to get at.
Sorry, is this the right video or are you looking for a different one?
Yeah, this is the right video. So it says R5, but basically it's the same structure. So basically you have to open that panel.
Do I need to unplug it first?
No, basically you don't need to. Okay, so yeah, you need to unplug the computer and turn it off. But basically we're not gonna touch anything. We're just gonna check if you have the true RAM.
Do I need to unplug it? No, it's oh, actually, yeah.
There you go, Janice's first RAM swap, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen. So in summary, do I understand this correctly? It took just shy of a full hour with 5 separate departmental transfers to diagnose a RAM stick that came loose during shipping. Hopefully the next one can do better. Here we go. All right, Origin, show me your leadership.
Now, before I proceed, I do need to verify the information that I have on the account. Could you provide me with the address that we have on file?
Okay, so it took 4 minutes to get to the point where we verified the order and everything. That's not terrible.
Okay, well, yeah, I definitely see that the invoice says 2 8GB sticks of Origin PC DDR4 3000 megahertz RAM. It's possible that maybe one of the sticks got loose during transit. Possible, given the vibrations that the machine undergoes during transit.
Bing!
It's very possible that one of the modules came slightly loose enough, to not be recognized. This would require you having to essentially open up your machine so that you can double check on this. Are you familiar with PC hardware to any extent? Like, would you be able to identify memory modules on a motherboard?
Probably not. Would you be able to help me out with that?
Not a problem. Absolutely. You got the email with the link to the Dropbox video?
That's kind of weird. Why wouldn't they just host it on YouTube? I gotta say, Alienware's production values were a little nicer. That's probably not the way that I would show most users how to do that.
Ideally, using both your thumbs to put equal force on each end of the stick, and you'll feel a very noticeable click.
His video, 3 out of 10. His instructions, solid 9 out of 10.
I gotta say, Janice, for someone who doesn't seem to have been doing this before, you've done this a lot faster than most of the customers I'm on the phone with. So.
Smooth operator.
Ah, interesting. So we've actually thrown an extra curveball at Origin PC here, plugging the HDMI connector into the motherboard rather than our dedicated graphics card.
That big card, it has a ribbon cable that goes from the card itself to the motherboard. And if that came loose slightly, then you're probably not going to get a picture.
Okay, this is a good explanation, but he's got the wrong diagnosis. Let's see how long it takes him.
And to clarify, when you initially got picture, do you know whether or not you were coming out of the graphics card or the onboard video on the motherboard?
He's done this before.
19 minutes, including a detailed explanation and walkthrough of the PEBCAC with plugging the monitor into the onboard I/O versus the GPU directly.
Competence.
Great job.
Thank you for calling Maingear, manufacturer of award-winning PCs and workstations.
Now this is the real test. If they can manage to turn an order number into like...
That's not the order number. I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, really?
The order number would be 5 or 6 digits and start with an 8 or 9.
Okay, at least that's clear instructions.
All right, let me remotely connect to your PC and have a look at a couple of things.
All right. Pops up Device Manager. I don't know what he's expecting to find in Device Manager. He's probably just kind of like, oh, I haven't done this in a little bit. Hold on. There it is. Slots used, 1 of 2.
Yep, nope, there's definitely only 1 stick in there. That's crazy. Okay, let's make sure that 1 stick didn't get loose.
Immediately nails the diagnosis.
If you look inside your machine, do you know where the RAM slots are?
So 10 minutes to diagnosis.
You should see a, here, let me go look through one as well so I can be more specific.
Wow, okay, nice.
There should be 4, or it could be 4 or 8, but usually it's 4 vertical slots.
Oops, it's 2, and it said that in Task Manager. I guess they don't sell a lot of low-end stuff. I would usually assume a Maingear system probably has 4 or 8.
Let's figure this out. So if you could just shut down the computer.
Shut down the computer.
I'm gonna have you open up the machine and we're gonna make sure those sticks are in there properly.
Does he mention to unplug it though?
Okay, so with the computer shut down, I want you to unplug all the connections from the back of it.
All right, rock on Maingear guy.
Looks like that's all it was, just a loose RAM stick, but you're all set. If you run into any other issues, feel free to give me a call back.
Sure, thank you so much.
That's it. So excluding some
6 minutes.
random nonsense with our monitor not properly waking from an HDMI signal, etc., about 15 minutes.
13.
Start to finish. Dang. 1/4 the time, and so much less frustration. Like, it was just friendly. The voice on the other end of the line is crystal clear. I mean, you can't take that kind of thing for granted, honestly. Like, you could understand the guy.
For tech support, press 3.
Straight to tech support? Like, why doesn't Dell have that feature? Doesn't seem that complicated.
If you feel comfortable looking inside of the PC, remove the left side panel of the computer, pull out the sticks of RAM, and simply reseat them to see if in case one of them is not seated properly.
Got the diagnosis.
Is that, where would I find that in the computer?
On the motherboard.
Excuse me, motherfucker? Did I even just hear you correctly? The motherboard.
But if you don't know what a stick of RAM is, I would advise you either seek help from somebody, a family member who perhaps has a little bit more experience, or have someone help you remove that stick of RAM and reseat them.
Not everybody has a family member that can help them. That's why they bought a pre-built, smart guy.
Okay. I don't really know who to ask, so you're not able to, like, tell me what I'm looking for?
I told you that the sticks of RAM are on the motherboard itself.
So, is it those 2 vertical pieces?
On the upper right hand corner, yes. So your troubleshooting step would be to pull them out and put them back in. But again, be careful with that, because if you don't know what you're doing and you break something, you're going to void all your warranty on the system.
Thanks, buddy.
So I just should find someone else to help me?
If you have a family member or a friend who's tech savvy, yes.
Is iBuyPower employing her friend or family member to provide their tech support? So he's just waiting for her to hang up. Like,
Alright, not a problem.
Okay,
I'm good.
bye.
yeah, not a problem to not be very helpful.
Not do anything.
Unreal. In Dell's defense, they got the problem solved. An hour's investment in getting your new computer set up or whatever is not the end of the world, given you're going to run it for 8 or 9 years. But to just treat the customer like an idiot and outright refuse to help them?
Okay, you're not able to help me through that?
Not my ability to, ma'am. It's your ability to look inside a computer. If you're not familiar with the part, it's going to be very difficult to do anything inside of the PC. This requires more technical skill.
It's not my ability, it's your ability.
Completely unacceptable. I'm ready. It can't be worse than Alienware. Oh, so they don't even have an easy way to get in touch with them? I actually don't even mind this form on one condition.
It gets passed on.
When someone picks up the phone, they have read and understood it.
Hold on. I'm transferring you to someone who can help you now.
Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today?
Hi, my name is Janice.
And the last name?
Tolkamp?
So he doesn't have the form. What is the purpose of the form? Holy sh**, he's asking for her phone number.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to get a hold of the sales department.
Why?
To get solutions for your HP product, please hang up and go to www.support.hp.com, where you can troubleshoot or get software and drivers.
When your phone support that you can only call by finding the number, by navigating the website, tells you to go to the website, you done goofed.
Sorry, I still didn't get that. Just tell me what kind of product you're calling about.
Desktop PC.
Okay, we make many types of desktop PCs. You might say something like Pavilion, Spectre, Presario, Omni, TouchSmart, or Envy. Go ahead and tell me what kind you have.
Omen.
Have your product's model and serial number ready for your agent. Hold on, I'm transferring you now.
Okay, Janice. So yeah, it looks like they did ship you out. Like the configuration they ship you out does actually have just 8. I don't see it showing 16 like the one that you ordered.
We personally removed half the memory, so...
Unfortunately, I'll only do tech support. I'm unable to access like any of the sales software to look it up, but I can provide you the number if you'd like.
So here's the issue right now. Every company we talked to where the rep had an ounce of experience with PC hardware immediately identified the problem. I'm not imagining that this is common.
Okay. I know that we were trying to get you over to like the Canada sales department. Did they send you back over to us?
Yes.
Okay. What did they end up saying exactly?
Well, they did confirm that like the order was for 16 gigabytes. And then I got transferred a bunch of times and I ended up here somehow.
Interesting. Let me see here.
You should have 16 gigabytes.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought as well.
Special Agent Janice, ladies and gentlemen.
So classic from her.
Probably there's a setting that you need to check or verify that if it's security, I can connect you to our technical support.
What setting makes RAM appear?
Oh, the shortcut to downloading more RAM.
Is he actually going to start trying to troubleshoot for us now? Is this the magic moment? 20 minutes in or whatever?
Let me put you on a brief hold while I do a little bit more research here. It shouldn't be any more than about probably 5 to 7 minutes or so, and I'll be right back with you, okay, Janice?
All right.
Thank you for that.
Okay, how long were we on hold?
14 minutes. 14, twice as long. The amount of time we spent on hold without nothing happening is the amount of time it took like Main Gear and Origin to resolve the whole problem.
And the amount of time that Dell spent in complete and utter silence.
I don't know why they ended up actually transferring you back over to us. That should have been handled on their side of things in order to get that fixed, because you just got the computer. It's well before the 30-day mark and everything like that. They should have been able to
get that going to rectify the issue for you.
You had mentioned like looking in the case and checking or like seeing if I had the 2 sticks, which I haven't done. I don't know much about computers, so I didn't dare do that.
That's okay.
Should I do that first?
Again, Janice helping out tech support here.
What can happen while computers are being shipped and everything, they do get moved around and everything, so it could end up being that it just needs to be unplugged and plugged right back in on both of them, because we don't know which one could be unseated, and then it might actually fix your issue right there as being able to detect that it has 16 gigabytes after that.
Oh, okay.
He knows! See, here's my issue with this guy, because he has mostly come across as though he pretty much knows what he's talking about. The issue, though, seems to be a policy one. If I had to guess, within 30 days, it's sales problem. After 30 days, tech support's problem. He just was trying really hard not to have to do troubleshooting, instead opting to send free product or push us back to sales. Like, it's not like they weren't willing to solve the problem. They just didn't want to diagnose it. Isn't that weird? Like 8 gigs of RAM, that's not insignificant. That's like $80. They were just gonna send it. HP managed to be worse. 72 minutes to get a stick of RAM unseated and reseated. And HP had the advantage of Janice already actually knowing how to pull out and replace memory by this point. Are you ready to declare a tie? Origin and main gear?
They pretty much were neck and neck.
With shockingly, Dell with that performance taking the bronze medal here, followed by HP, who ultimately did at least solve the problem, with iBuyPower in dead friggin' last.
They're not even last, they're like...
Well, they just didn't finish. The Massdrop Control keyboard is constructed with a solid CNC'd aluminum frame with a built-in switch plate that makes it very stable and extremely durable. It's fully programmable with RGB lighting and QMK firmware, which makes it much easier to program and gives you more control. And at checkout, you can choose between Cherry MX, Kaiwa, and Halo switches, which will affect the price depending on your choice, but gives you an incredible amount of flexibility in terms of the feel. So pick it up today on Massdrop for a limited time through the link in the video description. Stay tuned for the next part where Ivan will be performing autopsies on all the systems, looking in depth at how the preloaded software came and all that kind of good stuff. In the meantime though, if you guys disliked this video, you can hit that button. But if you liked it, hit like, get subscribed, or maybe consider checking out where to buy the stuff we featured at the link in the video description, but not yet. Let us finish with the autopsies and performance, okay? Also down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like, not like this outward, or this outer cool shirt, like this inner cool shirt, and our community forum, which you should totally join. We bought them, we unboxed them, and we endured tech support hell. And now, finally, after 3 weeks of waiting, we're ready to share the performance of our $1,500 gaming systems in both gaming and game capture workloads. But not before we share with you some interesting discoveries that cropped up while we were taking a closer look at these machines. Because, oh boy, there's far more here than meets the eye. Thermaltake's A500 has a modern, minimalistic design with brushed aluminum panels and dual hinge swinging tempered glass doors. Check it out today at the link below. Okay, I know. I am just as psyched to find out which of our rigs produces the most FPS as you guys, but we've actually got some other really, really important stuff to go through here first. Let's start with Alienware. So this thing shipped with a reasonably recent version of Windows 10, build 1803, and needed very few updates in order to get up and running. The theme, wallpaper, and boot logo were all set, so you'd know that, dude, you're getting a Dell, excuse me, Alienware, and bloatware didn't look too bad. So let's see here, we've got updater, mobile connector, customer connect, alien effects, whatever for lighting and overclocking control, but let's come back to bloatware later. First, something got weird. This system uses over 4 gigabytes of RAM at idle. That is double our other machines. And after we manually killed any and all Alienware/Dell processes, it barely budged. Then we subjected the machine to a CPU stress test, and this is even weirder. Normally, this kind of stress test loads up all of the cores to the hilt, but on this machine, the load fluctuated. Not only that, but the CPU would boost to 4.5-ish gigahertz, hit temperatures in the high 90 degrees Celsius, then do this weird thing where the cooling would rev up super hard. Then the temps and the clock speeds would go down, rinse and repeat. What? Because if the processor can't handle the standard load, why on earth do they have overclocking support? Well, to see how bad that would be, we fired it up and, wait, are you sure you got this right? This is bizarre. This shows that the CPU, while overclocked, neither overheated nor dropped below 4.3 gigahertz. That is the max 6-core load per Intel spec. That means that enabling OC Stage 1 was faster and cooler than the out-of-the-box settings, and not to mention essentially required to get the processor running the way that it was supposed to begin with. Stage 2 was not as rosy, with our processor shooting up to 4.8 gigahertz occasionally, but then quickly toning itself back down to 3.7. Okay. What made this even more puzzling was that after we disabled the software OC, that weird turboing up and overheating behavior completely disappeared. And that's not even the end of our software and firmware and whatever issues with this box, but we really need to move on to hardware now. So our graphics card is a standard issue GTX 1060 that behaved entirely predictably, minus the driver set from 6 months ago. So that's all right, but there are some issues here that we missed during the initial inspection. First, we found that the machine had a sloppily wired Wi-Fi module. Then we noticed that while the box said NVMe, our configuration is actually equipped with an M.2 drive that uses SATA rather than PCI Express, meaning that there is no performance benefit over a traditional 2.5-inch drive. Now, our invoice was marked correctly. It's not false advertising or anything like that. It's just kind of a drag. Anyway, much more interesting is the topmost PCI Express slot that runs at only 8x electrically rather than 16x, no matter what we did, and that our multi-GPU approved power supply only has 385 watts combined on its 12-volt rails with no 80+ certification whatsoever. Now, given that this machine already pulls around 300 watts from the wall under a combined CPU and GPU load, calling that SLI capable is misleading at best. One positive note is that the power supply fan does stop under low load and our machine idles at just 26 watts. Furthermore, after the rev up, throttle down behavior magically disappeared, the system would only hum up under load with no sharp fan rev ups. Those naked VRM modules that we were concerned about before, by the way, those did not end up heating up pretty much at all. And finally, when it comes to the UEFI BIOS settings, they were about as sparse as you'd expect with a pre-built machine like this, with no option to save a profile and SATA mode set to RAID, which then disables BIOS recovery from a hard drive, which is enabled by default. So I guess all we can really say is, let's move on to the HP Omen. Unlike the Alienware, our HP Omen shipped with Windows 10 version 1709 from over a year ago. So between that and replacing the graphics driver from 5 months ago, it took over an hour to get this thing updated out of the box. Of note is that the issue with games running slower off of the hard drive versus the SSD that we encountered while using this machine in our Walmart PC video has gone away, so that's good. And we were also pleased to see less than 2 gigs of our RAM being used at idle. That is half of the Alienware. On to software, the so-called Omen Command Center commands almost nothing except for enabling dual force mode to send low priority networking traffic over the integrated Wi-Fi and then higher priority packets over Ethernet. But I mean, given that they both terminate at the same modem, I'm having a hard time understanding what the point of that is. Also of note, our Omen included McAfee antivirus. So if you want to uninstall it, John says hi. Now here's something weird. Our 8700 non-K processor boosted to about 3.5 gigahertz with all-core turbo. Now this is well below the 4.3 gigahertz all-core boost that Gamers Nexus measured for this CPU, and only 10% above base clock. Now, why HP might have handicapped the CPU frequency in this way is not clear, but what we do know is that this can only hurt it when it comes to performance. Moving on, our graphics card is a bone stock GTX 1070 with as expected behavior, and then finishing it up in here, we found a Wi-Fi module that we actually didn't notice during our unboxing. Also, it turns out that our power supply is rated to 470 watts max on the 12 volt rails with 80 plus certification. So far more SLI ready actually than the one in the Dell. Moving on to the BIOS, well, actually you just don't get to. Pressing F2 at boot takes you to a diagnostic screen for just about every subsystem in the Omen, from CPU and RAM to USB and keyboard. Then going to advanced reboot yields a mostly useless gray on blue setup screen straight out of the 90s. All right, let's move on to the iBuy Power Rig now then, which is apparently so advanced that Janice is not even worthy of opening it.
And you're not able to help me through that?
Not my ability to, ma'am, it's your ability to look inside a computer. If you're not familiar with the part, it's going to be very difficult to do anything inside of the PC.
While this one shipped with a recent version of Windows 10, the machine still did require quite a few updates, and the graphics driver here is the oldest one yet. I mean, I guess that's what they had rolled into their OS image and they just haven't bothered to update it. I mean, frankly, back at NCIX, we did a lot of stuff wrong. We did. But we did regularly update the bloody graphics drivers for our gaming systems. With that said, this behavior doesn't seem that surprising given the clap it together and ship it overall build quality that we observed. There were 0 changes made to the UEFI BIOS, so that means no optimized profile was saved, even though the option is present on this motherboard. And in practical terms, this means that while our invoice boasted a free upgrade to 3000 megahertz RAM, you can see it in there, it's all shiny, ours was only running at the default 2666 megahertz. Don't get me wrong, everything worked, and it was stable with our CPU boosting to 4.3 gigahertz max across all cores as expected, and our graphics card was factory overclocked with idle RAM usage that was normal. It's just that we didn't really get a, we care a lot vibe from the overall build quality. Again, this kind of sort of sloppiness doesn't affect performance, which we will see is definitely a strong point for this system. But not even one of the CPU cooling fans is plugged into the CPU fan header. They put the pump there when there's an empty pump header right here. I mean, why? And we found a grand total of exactly 1 zip tie and 1 twist tie in the entire system. Let's move on to the next, So this is what you get for $1,500 US dollars from Origin PC. A Core i5 processor and a GTX 1050 Ti. I mean, at this point, it almost doesn't really matter what else they do right, does it? But for the sake of completeness, let's take a look. The OS the machine shipped with was recent, and so was the graphics driver. That shouldn't be worth bonus points, but apparently it is. Idle RAM usage was sub 2 gigabytes, another good thing. But we did notice that when we looked at the UEFI settings, that while our XMP 3000 MHz profile was enabled for our RAM, the speed field was left on auto, which for some reason caused it to clock in slightly lower at 2933. To Origin's credit, even though only that one setting was tweaked on the machine, it was saved into a profile which we could load onto it for our performance testing. But profiles are only as useful as how enabled they are. We really hoped that our tech would prompt us when we called in for tech support to load the profile after that whole only half the RAM is being detected incident, but he didn't. Looking under the hood, we found cable management that on the surface looked pretty good until we noticed that our pump was powered via Molex, which means no speed control and no warning if your pump dies. And then, making matters worse, we noticed that there is an available header on the motherboard that they used that they plugged the front intake fan into instead. Then, this is the worst thing yet. We came to the pass-through power cable that connects the rear plug on the back of the actual system to the power supply inside because it's got a really unusual internal layout. This here uses non-soldered hobby-grade connectors, and on our machine, the metal contacts were slightly exposed with no power off switch available at the back of the system. That means that while it would be unlikely, these can slip off, and someone could accidentally bridge those live wires, full AC power, with their fingers. This could and should be done better. Let's move on to main gear. First, we need to make a correction here. During the purchasing part of this system, the rep mentioned the 2-year extended warranty, and we laughed. Oh, here comes the warranty pitch.
Well, he saved it for the last, you know.
Oh man. He mentioned it because it was free, and that's a good thing. But we were mostly laughing because we'd sat through so many warranty pitches in the last 2 hours. We should have corrected ourselves because free is free, baby. So thanks to our commenters for noticing that. As for the machine itself, well, the software side was virgin, other than a custom boot logo, wallpaper, and a red theme. Both the OS and the graphics driver were recent, and our GTX 1060 was a factory overclocked version. The processor clocked itself at about 3.9 gigahertz on all 6 cores. This is exactly what we would expect for a Ryzen 2600X, and we noticed that the machine had its high performance power plan enabled by default. This would help explain why it had the highest idle power draw out of our competitors at around 50 watts, but that is considered best practice with Ryzen processors. The UEFI did have a factory settings profile set, but there was really nothing in there that would affect performance. Just a couple of networking related settings and boot mode forced into UEFI only mode. A closer look at the insides revealed that, well, in terms of issues, we had a really hard time finding fault in this build. They even cable managed the backside of the motherboard tray. Digging deeper, the power button was slightly off center, I guess, but that's more of like a case QC issue. And actually, no, this was one. The hard drive SATA cable clicked when we pushed on it, meaning that it wasn't actually in 100%. But the drive was detected and did work out of the box, and given Main Gear's support, if that did come out in shipping, I'm sure they would have been able to help us with it pretty quickly. So then, you want to line them all up here, I guess? Let's finally do it for you. Let's summarize the specs of all the machines we ended up with. Alienware shipped with a liquid-cooled 8700K processor, 16 gigs of 2666 RAM, a stock GTX 1060 with a 128 gig SATA OS drive coupled with a 2 terabytes of storage, and it was powered by a multi-GPU approved 460 watt power supply. HP shipped our Omen with a non-K 8700 processor with 16 gigs of 2400 megahertz RAM, a vanilla GTX 1070, a 256 gig NVMe drive. They were the only one to ship an NVMe boot drive, weren't they? And 2 terabytes of mechanical storage. They also threw in a decent 80 plus 500 watt power supply, and they had a $200 Canadian, $150 US promotion at the checkout. It should be noted we bought all of these systems though during Intel's Gamer Days promotion, so every SI had the same opportunity to take advantage of that. iBuyPower jumped the gun, smartly selling us a pre-order of the Core i5-9600K before it was formally shipping. They cooled it with an AIO water cooler, threw it in an MSI Z390A motherboard, loaded up 16 gigs of 2666 megahertz RAM, and threw a 240 gig SATA OS drive with 1 terabytes of storage in it. We got a factory overclocked GTX 1070, the most powerful graphics card out of the bunch, and that was powered by a quality 750 watt power supply that we got upgraded to for free. On paper, this one should be the fastest system for gaming. Origin. Oh, Origin. We got a liquid-cooled Core i5-8400 with a GTX 1050 Ti and 120 gigs of SATA SSD storage with no extra mechanical storage for our game library. The power supply is a high-quality 450 watt unit, but the fancy Z390 overclocking capable motherboard, even though it's quality, doesn't make sense for this config. Our CPU doesn't support overclocking. Honestly, this config is a total dog's breakfast. Finally, Maingear sold us the only AMD system in the lineup with a 240mm AIO-cooled Ryzen 5 2600X. This could end up very interesting because we did specifically mention to everyone on the phone that we wanted to not only game, but also record our gameplay for YouTube. They went with an MSI B350M Pro VD motherboard with 16 gigs of 2666 megahertz RAM, a 256 gig SATA OS SSD, a 1 terabyte storage drive, and a factory overclocked GTX 1060. All this was powered by an EVGA 500 watt power supply, and of note is that the $200 discount that was applied to our checkout due to Intel's Gamers Days promotion was something we were able to take advantage of. However, that works for an AMD-based configuration. Okay, so which one of these is the fastest for gaming? Well, in a massive surprise to no one, iBuyPower and HP Omen dominated our suite of gaming benchmarks, with iBuyPower edging out its closest competitor pretty handily thanks to its factory overclocked graphics card and the fact that its CPU was turboing correctly. I mean, you want your CPU turboing correctly, that seems like a good idea, right? Who knew? Maingear's machine and our Alienware Aurora then traded blows thanks to their similar grade of graphics firepower in the next tier down. And as for our Origin Chronos, well, it didn't manage to break 60 FPS in any of our gaming tests aside from CSGO. Also, for the sake of completeness, we actually tested the Origin machine with both the Core i3 that fit within our budget and the i5 that they upsold us to make theirs not only the worst performer in the bunch, but also the most expensive system that we purchased. Now on to recording videos to post to YouTube. Now this is presumably what led Maingear to recommend a 6-core, 12-thread AMD system. Now we never mentioned streaming, so we were actually kind of hoping for someone to recommend using Shadowplay because it mostly just works and comes with very little performance penalty if you want to just, cut together your frag vids. But no, I think everyone kind of assumed we were streaming. Anyway, on to testing. We set OBS to the same 1080p, 60 FPS, 3500 megabit per second CBR settings on all machines, and then we just kept cranking the X264 encode quality until we started dropping frames. Which actually brings us back to Alienware did what? So check this out. Regardless of encoder quality, our Aurora dropped a savage number of frames and spit out rendering errors. So the benchmark that we chose would run at 60 FPS, so our game was fine, our CPU usage remained reasonable, and yet the end recording was unwatchable every single time. And this behavior persisted even when we switched to the NVENC NVIDIA encoder, which has nothing to do with the CPU. So Ivan's racking his brain for a week on this stupid thing, trying different settings, recording to a different drive, resetting and reinstalling the software, using a different graphics card out of our inventory, and even going as far as asking one of the key OBS devs, what the heck is going on here? Finally, we relented and popped one of our bench boot SSDs into the Aurora, only for it to immediately stop having the issues. But then, the mystery goes deeper still, because we tried our Alienware OS drive in another similar spec test bench machine and continued experiencing the same issue. So while we do not know what precisely is going on, we've done our diligence and we've managed to deduce that something, we're pretty sure, is just broken in software on our Alienware machine. Maybe it has to do with the high idle RAM usage. On to the rest then. Our main gear machine hung in there until the medium quality setting. That's our best result, with our HP Omen coming in second. iBuyPower came in third as expected, starting to lose frames at the faster preset when it came to CPU encoding. And then, as for the Chronos, well, shit. Did I say it right? What were we really expecting on a system that couldn't hit 60 FPS in the first place? So what's the takeaway from all this? When it comes to raw gaming power for the price, iBuyPower took the prize. That is, if you're comfortable with their quality tech support. But that also doesn't necessarily mean that HP lost. Thanks in part to their promo price, they put up a surprisingly good fight when it came to gaming performance, and there were aspects of this system that don't directly impact gaming, but are certainly benefits, like the NVMe boot SSD versus a cheapo SATA one in the iBuyPower rig. Not to mention the carrying handle, the excellent I/O, and the handy, easy hard drive upgrade slots. Now their tech support was far from perfect, but they weren't dismissive or rude to us, and they did eventually solve the problem. After those two, we would have a tie for second if Alienware could get their preloaded OS figured out. And also if their pre-sales and after-sales support weren't both abominable across the board. Now I'm sure Alienware would say that we got unlucky, but here's my response to that. Between all the call transfers that we went through, I'm pretty sure we talked to probably half a dozen people who worked there. And every single one of them was worse than both of the people that we talked to at Main Gear. So there's just no contest here. Main Gear comes in third. Speaking of no contest, Origin PC. They did do some things well. Their staff were polite, competent, and helpful. But at the end of the day, this was a pretty simple transaction. We you $1,500 give, you us gaming PC send. And while they did a good job of taking our $1,500, I would argue that they didn't really hold up their end of the bargain. Is this a gaming PC? Well, it's a gaming PC, but certainly not for $1,500. So, I guess that's it, right? Are we done?
For this season.
For this season. Oh, lordy, are we doing this again? Boy, this was time consuming, but Welcome back to Secret Shopper, where we go undercover to find who delivers the best value gaming experience. We're going to be having a look at just what arrived in the mail. We're going to unbox these systems, and what an experience I'm expecting that to be. They came in everything from a cardboard box to a wooden shipping crate. We're going to crack them open, and we're going to see who delivered on their promises and who fell short. Because some of them didn't promise much. Not the way Dbrand, our sponsor, promises to make your phone look beautiful and stand up against incidental scuffs and scratches. Also, you can now buy my face and put it in your pocket right next to your junk. Yep, I don't know why you want to do that, but you can. They're doing a limited edition drop with 2 LTT options, face and sticker bomb. Check it out at lttstores.com. That's LTT stores with an S, frickin' trolls. Dell, once again, was one of the least impressive of our PC builders. And probably the worst thing about it from a Dell standpoint was that they didn't even manage to send us to their gaming division, Alienware. So, dude, we really did just get a Dell. Packing here, I would say, is a B at best. It's environmentally friendly, but in terms of the protection for the system, I would call this mediocre at best. Power cable, and then a really cheap keyboard and mouse that if it wasn't a gaming system, I'd say, yeah, sure, this is fine. This probably won't end up in an e-waste bin, but it'd be nice if they had kind of a step up. Then again, maybe they do, but they forgot to sell us an Alienware, so. Without asking, Dell went with a mid-tower case, and from a cost perspective, that makes sense. As you shrink components down, they tend to get more expensive. And as you get bigger, there tends to be just more raw material involved. So MATX is a good middle ground from a manufacturing standpoint. This is, man, there's almost nothing that I look at about this and I go, gaming though. Like on the back, look at this weak cooling. 80 millimeter fan? When's the last time you saw an 80 millimeter fan, like unironically in a brand new computer?
Yeah, what about the power supply?
And what power supply standard is this? I had no idea. Graphics card, we got 6 USB ports on the back, presumably gigabit LAN, not even like the full complement of 6 audio jacks. What year is it?
So I think this is actually like the same computer that we bought for like the go to Best Buy and spend $1,000. The same idea, but maybe a little bit more souped up because we spent some more money.
Souped up, you say?
Yeah.
That does not look very souped up to me, sir.
But look at the outside, it's so nice. Wow, that cooler, that's better than I was expecting.
You know, the cooler, that's a 3 heat pipe cooler with, looks like, that might even be a 92 millimeter fan, actually. The CPU cooler fan might be bigger than the case fan.
Doesn't look like it would be fun to get out of there to fix, though.
And there's almost no other cooling in this system. There's an air intake at the front, and this power supply, like why are they, what is that, like flex?
It's 80 plus platinum though. Wow.
Okay, all right, Dell. You know what? The system arrived in 12 days. That's 12 days, not business days. So I would consider that to be a pretty reasonable amount of time. And oh my God, why does it have a hard drive? I actually kind of forgot what was in this thing. Wait, no, that's a line item for the sticker.
No.
Yeah, look, you gotta make sure you get the right one. This is interesting. Remember that video we did recently on the ATX 12 volt only standard? Well, Dell has already gone ahead and transitioned. So this proprietary power supply here isn't for no reason at all. It's actually not using the traditional ATX connector. So all we've got here is a 12 volt 6-pin connector, and then 2 more 4-pin 12 volt connectors up here. So the power supply only delivers 12 volt power. That's probably how they managed to hit 80 plus platinum.
Yeah.
Relatively inexpensively. What is this, a GTX 1650 in here?
It's a
1660 Ti, sorry. So that is quite a bit better, but not great for the price.
No.
One of the things that we put together for each of the systems is a comparable system on PC Part Picker.
There is some things that are actually better about this system. Now you'll notice on this system we actually have a proper SSD.
Oh.
That is not a proper SSD. That is DRAM-less AF.
Got it. And for just $1165.98 with a $40 mail-in rebate. That's rough.
Not looking great, yeah. Wow, I'm actually surprised that the power supply I spec'd is worse than the one in here. I went for a 500 watt gold.
Okay, all right. So credit to Dell for, moving to the new 12 volt only standard, and credit to Dell for the wiring in the case. Super clean, super clear, and some of it is even pre-run for things that you don't have installed out of the box. Like these 2.5-inch bays up here, if you wanted to add some more solid state storage in the future, just run that across, and the power cables are already run for you.
No display.
Yeah, there's no display outputs.
I'm pretty sure this is a 10700K though, so you could have output, I think.
It's a KF.
Okay, so the only reason I didn't do the KF is because pricing online was like all over the place.
The KF is stupid if you're just buying the parts directly because Intel doesn't really discount it compared to the one that does have onboard graphics. On the subject of upgradability, the main ones are the drives, graphics card, the SSD right here. It doesn't look like there's a secondary M.2 slot anywhere on this board, and memory. To Dell's credit, there's 4 slots on here, so you could conceivably upgrade to 64 gigs of RAM without actually throwing away the included stick, but this included stick is a bit of a problem in a couple of ways. Number one stick, no dual channel operation. What are you guys doing? And number 2, this is DDR4 3200 megahertz memory, but because this system is using a cheaper B-series chipset, it's actually capped at 2933. Although I don't know who to thank for that more, Dell or Intel. This is weird. My 8-pin connector is just kind of like jammed in here, like it wasn't slid together properly. It's a pretty easy fix. You just have to take the thing and like slide it on properly. It's just a really careless thing to not do in the first place. Overall expectations for this thing, pretty low. I'm expecting it to be quiet, but not have great thermals and not have great performance. Let's move on. HP might not have much in terms of like corporate sex appeal, but what they did at least manage to do is direct us to their Omen brand of gaming desktops that at least tries to have a little sex appeal. Credit to HP for their packing. They don't waste any material here, but they still manage to have a nice thick layer of this really soft and flexible foam in between the system and the outer box. In terms of included accessories, we've got a pretty basic package here. So like your quick start guide and power cable. Is this the same keyboard?
Look at the cable, it's way nicer.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's fine.
It's a free add-on, all right?
Okay, all right, free keyboard. Is this the same mouse?
No, it's a different mouse.
Different mouse? Okay, well, oh, it might be worse.
Yeah.
Feel that click.
It was free. It's like a free t-shirt.
All right. We are off to a much better start already here, ladies and gentlemen. Tempered glass?
Is that actually? Oh. Whoa.
Is that tempered glass?
Does that actually look like a regular computer?
That's tempered glass.
Whoa.
It's not even acrylic. Dang! Tempered glass side panel. To be clear, I wouldn't be as impressed if they were like a boutique system builder, but like, it's like HP we're talking about here. How long did it take to get here?
Well, this one's a little interesting. Now, like last time, they canceled our order again because we used Google Voice to call, but this time they didn't tell us. We didn't get an email or a phone call or anything.
I don't think they told us last time either, actually.
They just canceled it. I was like, everything's here except the HP one, and I go online, had to make an account to check the order, and then it shows us canceled. I'm like, what the heck? So it turns out they're actually out of stock on this model, and we had to buy it from Best Buy, which means we don't really have a good date for how fast it would have came. But
your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
We've got 2 front USB 3 ports, front audio, power button. I really like this case.
Yeah.
You know, it's not over the top or anything, but it's just pretty stylish.
Black cables?
Yeah, like I'm liking it.
They used the stock cooler. Thank you, HP.
Yeah, like why reinvent the wheel, right? One button for internal access. Pop that tempered glass side panel off just like that. Dang! Looks like a standard ATX power supply, so big plus there. Pretty mediocre rear I/O, so 6 USB ports. 2 of them are 10 gig and one's Type-C though, so that's nice. The Dell had Type-C on the front though, which this didn't, so give or take there. Nothing special in terms of audio, Ethernet, at least it has Ethernet, I guess. That's not saying much. Oh, really? Again with the single channel memory. What is this?
Oh, and it only has 2 slots.
HP, what are you doing? You go and design a motherboard. You go to all the effort to design a motherboard with 2 memory slots, and you only populate one of them. It's HyperX though. You gotta get the HyperX in there. Another strike against HP is that they're using a last gen, so a 9th gen Intel Core i7 processor. It's a 9700. I mean, to be clear, that's still fast CPU for gaming and everything. It's just, why last gen? Maybe they got a deal on them? Like, I don't really know. We've got 512 gigs of a significant on, which is 1150 watt, 80 plus platinum power supply. I'm really pleased to see a totally standard configuration that allows you to upgrade pretty much every component of this system, including even the front switches and LEDs are not only using standard pinouts, they're even labeled. So if you were to throw like an aftermarket motherboard in here or something like that, you could totally do it. It's standard ATX, except that, wait, did I lie? No, I didn't. The 24-pin connector is just in the weirdest friggin' location ever. I was like, is it ATX 12 volt only again? It's down here. Who puts a 24-pin down there? Again, to HP's credit though, they didn't go into a proprietary power supply with like a 4-inch 24-pin cable. They just cable managed it.
Yeah.
So you could go and you could swap this motherboard if you really wanted to. Kudos, 100% kudos. Another nice thing is that this is an RTX 2070 Super, a much faster card than what shipped in the Dell, and we squeaked in just under our budget. And B, they've got this great GPU brace included that means the odds of this coming free during shipping look very, very low. Pretty standard blower style card, nothing special there, but I mean, I'm pretty happy with this. 92 millimeter fan, ooh, hold on, I might have spoken too soon. Filtered intake on the bottom though. No! Look at that! Magnetic filtered intake.
What?
Easy cleaning.
Whoa!
Yeah, right? I wish it had another exhaust at the top or something like that, but it's not bad. At least you got this fresh air coming in from the bottom. The front is solid, so you got fresh air coming in from the, ooh, these are really small feet for a bottom intake.
Ooh. Don't put this thing on carpet.
Oh yeah, really don't, because your power supply intake is on the bottom too, and that looks really restrictive. Come on, HP, you guys gotta know better than that. I've got reasonable expectations for this one. What HP got right is the modularity of the components. Any one of them could be swapped out if something went wrong in the future and you weren't covered under warranty. But what they got wrong is a last gen CPU running single channel memory in a case that honestly, I have pretty low expectations for in terms of thermals. That could come back to bite them, and we're gonna keep a close eye on that in our performance testing. $110 price difference? That's not bad for assembly and warranty. iBuyPower coming up next.
Whoa!
Hey, wow, an RGB keyboard.
That looks terrible.
That might not actually be RGB either. Oh, thanks. It wobbles if I... They're expensive. Like our X570P motherboard mouse, many mouse for gamers. This is the least horrible feeling mouse so far. You can tell iBuyPower learned their lesson about cheaping out on foam many, many moons ago, because this is about as good as it gets. Oh. Step 1, removing the side panel, like this or like that. Step 2, removing the foam packaging. Step 3, check your connections. There should really be like a QR code for a video that I can watch to show me, because this is like one thing. Like, what about all the other connections? So good effort, could be better. Pretty basic front I/O, couple USB 3s, audio, power button, that's about it. Wow, there's 3 fans taking in air from the front and just a tiny vent here and a tiny vent along the bottom to feed them. That middle fan's gonna be doing basically nothing. Steve from Gamers Nexus would not approve. Nice magnetic removable mesh filter doodad. Not really much point having a filter on an exhaust, but hey, you know, it looks nice, so there's that. Having this little sticker here is a small investment for iBuyPower to make in making sure that their customers don't accidentally plug into the...
Oh no, it's a paper sticker.
Now I can't even put something in my USB port without jamming paper in it.
Oh, there's like glue all over it.
Horrible. All right, let's see if I can step up my sticker removal game here and do a bit of a better job. You know, maybe it's all in my technique. Nope, It's actually that bad.
Oh no.
It's leaving residue. Oh my God, this is, what is,
Oh
What a stupid thing to get so wrong.
You could have bought plugs for like 2 cents.
Way to go, iBuyPower. Now you're stuck with that. The rear of the case, aside from this horrible residue, looks pretty good though. We've got a good mix of USB 3, including 10 gigabit. We've got 4 10 gigabit ports. This is another pretty expensive little trick that can save you a lot of shipping damage over the years. What it does is it supports your graphics card, which is normally one of the most susceptible to shipping damage components, and also the radiator back here, and kind of braces them against the side panel so they won't come free during shipping. And it looks like it worked just fine. There's a lot of fans in here for the price though.
And they're ARGB.
Addressable RGB, you say? And they even managed to put dual channel memory in it. Also with RGB. This thing's gonna light up like our Christmas tree.
Wait, take a look, all right?
It's got an RTX 2070 Super. This is an MSI model, and assuming we can get enough air into the case, it should do fine with this cooler, even though it's recirculating the hot air inside. And then it's actually got a single 120 millimeter AIO that's got iBuyPower branding that's going to be taking that warm air and cooling the CPU. Fortunately, the Ryzen 7 3700X doesn't run particularly hot, so my expectations are that it's going to be fine. 650 watt 80 plus gold power supply. That's an Intel SSD. That's a 660p 512 gig. No hard drive in this one, but given how much better the specs are, the fact that I'm getting like an ASUS motherboard instead of some random one with only 2 slots or like, non-standard connectors on it, it's looking like a pretty good value so far. In fact, compared to our PC part picker, it came in $77, less expensive.
The PC part picker is
and this one
missing.
doesn't even have RGB fans on it, Jake.
Yeah, so if you add the RGB fans, which I found, there's Cooler Master ones that are $16. They're even more expensive, sorry.
Yeah. Should we turn this one on even though we didn't turn on the other ones? I want to see how much it glows. That's very RGB.
And it's cheaper.
We can't show you guys. Look, you gotta watch the next part. It's an expensive series. We're buying a lot of computers. That's why we need Dbrand to sponsor it. Oh, we're doing like a custom sticker. Wait, or iBuyPower's. I think. I was bringing this out to repack it and I noticed something. This panel's dented.
I don't think it's dented, it's bulging because there's too many cables back there.
No cables.
What do you mean? There's cables right there.
That's not to put.
Oh yeah, all right. Well, look at it without it.
It's dented.
Oh, you're opening it before you even see the computer?
Oh, just I want to know. Cyberpower. Look, I'm a detective, not a genius. All right, got a mouse. There's document. Okay, what about these guys in there? This one's got Wi-Fi. These are similar to the better in face design. I've got pretty high hopes for this one. The USB 3 with savings guide, but not directly, right? There's a gap like I don't know what they're doing. This is exhausting. This is exhausting. They went push-pull, even though it doesn't make that much of a difference. You're usually better off with one higher quality fan than 2 kind of mediocre ones in push-pull. To their credit, at least the specs are pretty good. We've got a Core i7 10700K. We've got 16 gigs of dual channel memory, so that's a plus today, apparently, now that half of our contestants haven't gotten that far. 3000 megahertz. They're using a Z490 chipset motherboard, so the RAM will actually run at that speed. That's good. But our graphics card is an RX 5700 XT. Now that's gonna do pretty well compared to the Dell, I think. Is an RX 5700 XT. Now that's gonna do pretty well compared to the Dell, I think. But HP and iBuyPower are, well, Let's look at the name. It says Challenger, it doesn't say winner. I haven't been pulling the back panel off all of them, but this one I kind of had to. A, to get a look at the 650 watt 80 plus gold power supply, and B, because CyberPower were the only ones to go with a 2.5 inch SSD boot drive. So they went smaller and they went 2.5 inch instead of M.2. Not that I'm expecting it to make any difference for games, except it can now. Because of direct storage, way to go. CyberPower. To CyberPower's credit though, they managed to come in $20 lower than if we just bought these parts on PC Part Picker. This one did include the fans properly, so that's good. And then technically if we sent in a $30 mail-in rebate, we could beat it, but who's got time for that? So I've got pretty high hopes for this one, except for that GPU choice and cooling, and that our case was dented out of the box. Now for the fun one. I mean, can you imagine someone buying a $1,500 computer and thinking, wow, I should spend $100 on a shipping crate for it. Watch it be the most banged up one.
Just be broken inside?
I'm broken inside. In fairness, this would be very important if this was like a $6,000 machine with like 80 pounds worth of hardline water cooling in it. But what even is this? From Origin PC, $50. Thank you for choosing Origin PC. Welcome to the Origin PC family. What are you guys doing?
It's a Visa reward. Yeah, it's a virtual credit card. The Omni card reviews are 1.7 out of 5 stars.
This is our first boutique builder of the lot, and I'm already feeling the more one-offness of it. This box is double folded, and there's actually a slit here that was made with a knife after the fact. Origin is using a single generic case and then just resizing it a little bit for shipping depending on what case the customer chose. Packing material I would say is like I'd say that's a solid A-.
Dude, it came in a crate.
Well, no, I mean, oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, the packing material is an A+. Oh, got an included mouse pad. Yeah.
It was free.
Yeah, it was free, just like the Visa. A debit card, prepaid debit card. This does actually feel pretty nice. Not that you'll need one because you're going to be waiting for the LTT mousepad, lttstore.com. Where'd my free t-shirt go? Oh, here it is.
Oh, this actually feels pretty good.
Oh, it's Gildan. Smells like these guys just got acquired by Corsair. Got a Corsair thumb drive in there with your presumably OS. 32 gig thumb drive though. Free, except that you paid for it. Got some modular cables. This is the first unit to have a modular power supply included for free, except that you paid for it. Their packing is ridiculous. Like this is probably at the point where the packing is like 10 to 15% of the cost of this computer.
I'm looking for imperfections here. I'm hunting.
You're not gonna find them. Got pretty basic front I/O.
Doesn't look
Headphone
like
microphone combo jack. Don't like to see that on a desktop. I prefer to see discrete jacks on a desktop.
the front.
USB 3. Yeah.
Like
Most headsets have a separate
but like
thing.
doesn't look like that. I'm still mad.
Tempered glass. Tempered glass is now apparently standard. I guess I shouldn't have been quite as impressed when HP had it, but still. I have to remove my 8-pin PCI Express connector in order to get this foam out.
Oh, we got a code for Fall Guys.
Let's dial it back and focus on some positive things here though. Cable management, it's great. Best we've seen so far, looks fantastic. The cooling configuration, unconventional, but better than some of the stuff we've seen for sure. Like I would bet money on it. We've got 2 intakes here at the top, here at the front, an exhaust right here. The one thing I might have changed is this front one. I'd have probably put it over here so that you're bringing nice fresh air across the GPU. They managed to put dual channel memory in, 3000 megahertz. But what I don't know is, even though this is a Z490 series chipset motherboard, so we should have support for 3000 plus megahertz RAM, we are not running a K-series processor. This is the weakest CPU out of all the systems so far. Just a Core i5 10400 6-core, not overclockable or anything like that. So that's has the potential to hold them back, or at least it would if we weren't running a GTX 1660 Super. This is also the slowest graphics card we've yet seen. This is interesting. I figured out the $50 gift card.
What?
There's a current special offer, free shipping plus $50 rewards card with AMD Ryzen. Offer. Interesting. I figured out the $50 gift card.
What?
There's a current special offer, free shipping plus $50 rewards card with AMD Ryzen.
Remember when we tried to buy Ryzen for this thing? It was too expensive.
Well, maybe it would have been the cheapest option if they just gave $50 off. All right. Storage, we got a 250 gig Seagate Barracuda SSD. They don't specify exactly what kind, but it's not M.2 because there's nothing. Under there, so I guess it's a 2.5 incher. Probably hiding down here in the bottom.
Is that what you tell the ladies?
1 terabyte. Origin PC approved hard drive, and it turns out that is a Seagate Compute hard drive as well. I mean, there is nothing else much to really say about this puppy. It arrived here in immaculate condition. How long did this one take to arrive?
24 regular days.
Are they really that backed up? How do we factor in Fall Guys, 1 Gildan t-shirt?
Yeah, the GPUs though.
More than putting this. So we went AMD for specs. You get a worse graphics card. You get power button right there. US fan screws, you can see. It's fine, especially 14 days. Boutique builder number 2, Jay.
14 days. 14
days to arrive. Okay.
That's reasonable for a computer.
That's reasonable. I think that's fine, especially if it's a custom built affair. A-grade foam here, although these thumb screws, you can see they did get pretty close to the edge. Nice magnetic filter on the top. No fans there though, so we're gonna have a look at what the cooling configuration is like in here. 3 USB 3s and a Type-C. Got also a headphone microphone jack and power button right there. Illuminated main gear logo on the front. It's a handsome chassis. Not a lot of air intake here, just this one side here. The bottom is pretty much right down flat against the table, so we'll have to see how that holds up. And rear I/O, well, this is where we see how Maingear has moved to address the more entry-level market. Origin went and cheaped out on core specs. You get a worse graphics card, you get a worse CPU, that sort of thing. And to be clear, Maingear specs are still not competitive with what we got from HP, Dell, iBuyPower, those guys, CyberPower for that matter. At least they costed down, tempered glass panel, in ways that I mostly think make sense. So we went AMD and instead of blowing a bunch of money on a crate and a high-end motherboard, we went with a B450M Pro VDH Max motherboard. So it's an MATX board. You do tend to save a little bit of money like that. 4 sticks of memory, that's a really weird one.
Are they
We can
4
talk
gig?
more about that later. And we went AMD for our CPU, which honestly, I was expecting more of them to do. AMD 3rd Gen Ryzen is such a great value. Compared to Origin, they managed to get a much better graphics card in the system. This is an RTX 2060 Super, but I'm still expecting it to get beat up pretty badly by the machines with 2070 class cards. And cooling makes a fair bit more sense. We're looking at 2 120mm intakes up here at the front. We've got just a stock cooler. Spending money on an AIO for a system in this price point really doesn't make a ton of sense, especially when you consider that they don't perform that well. And then a single, looks like LED lit 120mm exhaust. This is weird. Hold on a second. Can I have a look at this RAM first? What is going on here? Who ships 4 gig sticks anymore? It's 3200 megahertz.
風の神、我らを導きたまえ。
爆弾持ちすぎたのかな。
せっかくのチャンスだ。本気を出して俺を楽しませてくれ。投稿も一つの選択だよ。俺は敗者に優しいからね。どこに行く。隙あり。気を読み違えてるよ。悪くないね。逃げ足が速いようだね。俺相手によくここまで持つな。会議だけじゃダメだよ。
風よ、無駄な努力をやめて。
やるじゃないか。これはどうだい。
君の実力を褒めてやろう。俺も全力で戦わないと。
無駄な努力をやめたら。取るに足らないわ。はあ。それ。それ。火力全開。痛いよ。イェイ。くっ。よっ。せい。取るに足らないわ。
せっかく手に入れたのに。 相手を間違えたら
爆弾持ちすぎたのかな。あれだっただ。 断罪の名においてはっはっボンボン爆弾や
取るに足らないわ。無駄な努力をやめたら。風よ、私に応えるのだ。星とし星とし無事今日 んにちは。 お疲れ様です。 調子はいかがですか？ お疲れ様です。
So lots of various companies are pretty bad for this, but I think Razer's the worst. Where kind of like 2-3 times a year, they're like, guys, we reinvented the wheel. Gaming's never gonna be the same. Creativity's never gonna be the same. Like, wow, and then like, it's a pink blade or something like that. And you're just like, guys, cool, I guess, but why? No, that's not the level of hype. But here, they might actually have something. Like, it's the new Razer Book 13. Terrible name, guys. You couldn't think of anything? Like, whatever. It looks pretty sweet though. Let's get into it. All right. That's an interesting... Oh! Is that the power brick? Wow, 65 watts, and this size right here is actually pretty impressive. It seems like it's just a standard charger. I was wondering if it was like gallium nitride, but I guess not. This is a pre-production unit, so we aren't allowed to run benchmarks on it or whatever, but we were going to anyway. All right. Only a couple little scuffs now, but I don't... Ooh, a lot of scuffs actually. Oh, it's fine. They're coming off. Pre-production marks aside though, this thing feels and looks great. It just has the, I don't know, Razer stiffness, I guess you could call it. It's all aluminum, CNC machined, and just generally feels great. Has that almost like Apple feel about it. You know how they're just super solid? I guess Razer has always had that as well. Just a nice, very tame Razer logo on the back.